Okay, a big fat welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on Women's Mind Today. Okay, I think that for myself, with our life purpose is that if I said, okay, what is my life purpose? Up until very recently, I would have said I have no idea. So for people that are listening in today and that are thinking, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know, what does life purpose mean? So what I will say is that if you think, well, okay, maybe I have a life purpose, and if it's something that you're doing that you find that the time, like, you get passionate about when you're thinking about it, and it's not a chore, you may find that that's something along these lines that's going to be your purpose. But I know that in the Bible, Moses was in his 80s before he started, before he was doing his purpose. And when God told him what his purpose was, he turned around and went, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not equipped for this. I can't do that. So we can sometimes think, okay, well, maybe we're called to do a purpose and I don't want to do it. But what I would say, and what I would absolutely suggest, is that don't get hung up on your purpose. Just think of, what is it that you would like to do in your life? Is there anything that you think that you could do to make a difference? Because my purpose didn't come to me until I had gone through a number of life stages. So I didn't know what my purpose was until something emotional happened to me. So it could be that you don't know your purpose until you're broken. There could be something that you feel has been so bad that's happened in your life, but God uses that for good. And I know, for myself, it wasn't just one thing, it was a range of things that had happened to me before I realized this is my life's purpose. I know now what my life's purpose is, and it's in my heart. It is absolutely in my heart. But first of all, what had to happen was that my son, he was a heroin addict, and it was like completely devastating, with it for our whole family, because we're close, and it wasn't until when he was taking the heroin, I heard God clearly say to me, I have a great purpose for your son, David. And I heard that, and he says, now I want you to tell him that I have a great purpose for his life. So this is what I heard. I stood on that word that God had said to me. I stood in faith, and I told my son. And so, I spoke that word out to him. So after, a while later, I got a phone call from one of his friends, and he said to me, and he was like really, really upset, and he's gone, we've called an ambulance. We think David is sitting here and he's turned blue. We think he's dead. And I was like, you can imagine the feeling of a mother that hears somebody talking on the other end of her phone that your son is sitting and he's blue, he's not reacting, and called an ambulance. I got on my face and I took my Bible and I was on the floor and I read out every spiritual thing that I had in that Bible against, that no weapon formed against him will prosper. I spoke out God's word and I said, God, you said you had a great purpose for his life. He has not fulfilled that purpose yet. So I'm standing in faith that he is healed. He is healed by your blood. And I just kept speaking out and speaking out and speaking out, and wouldn't listen to the fact that I didn't know, what the outcome was going to be. I just knew that I had to speak that word out. So when I was on the floor, and I don't know how long it was, it felt like forever. And then I heard God say to me, it is done. And I started crying. I was like, no, it's not done. It's not done. He is not dead. You promised, God, I'm standing on your word. I'm standing on your word. And then I got a phone call saying that they revived him in that ambulance. He was dead for 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I have a friend who's a doctor, and he said, Brenda, that is impossible, that he would not have brain damage, if he's dead for 15 minutes. He was absolutely fine. So when that happened, and it's taking you in a place where there's no hope. God gives us hope. It's in that place where we think that everything's gone, that we know that the faith is the size of a mustard seed. I mean, do you know the size of a mustard seed? And this was the journey that I have been going through. So when we think, okay, what is our purpose? It may not be until we have life challenges and we overcome these challenges, and then we understand, okay, I know that I'm here for something much bigger. Wow. And not through ourselves, but through somebody much bigger than us.
So I want to go on to Amanda. Amanda, is there really a difference between life purpose? I know there's a lot of people talk about, my life purpose, my calling, my assignment, and they use these words interchangeably. So is there a difference between all of these words, life purpose, calling, assignment?
Absolutely, yes. There's a difference. If you think about your purpose answers one fundamental question: why do you exist as a human being? Is it that why has God created you? Why did God bring you here? That is your purpose. I read somewhere a description that I think captures it so eloquently. It says your purpose is the promise God made to the world when he made you. So when each and every one of us were created.
That again, please. Sorry.
Your purpose is the promise God made the world when he made you. So each and every one of us were created, we exist for a particular purpose. There was something God had in mind when he created us. So your purpose really is your why. Why did God create you? Why are you here? Why do you exist? Now, if you compare that to your calling and your mission, it underpins how and what you do with your purpose. Your calling and your life's mission it includes the skills, the gifts, the abilities that you have to develop to use to fulfill your purpose. Your calling is what you are required to do in order to fulfill your purpose. It comes out of your purpose, and it usually doesn't change, because the reason God has created you is not necessarily going to change. Your calling or your mission, your life's purpose is not going to change. It usually doesn't change. So it's fundamentally the same, but it's just an expression of your purpose. Now, when you think about your assignments, on the other hand, it's kind of the current situations, the people or the circumstances or the responsibility that you are living out in the present, living out your purpose and your mission within. And your assignments change. It comes with your different seasons in life. Your assignment can be a job title, your duty, a project, a life season. For some women, their current assignment might be mothers, but that's not necessarily their calling or their purpose. It's just something they're doing for a while. So your assignments are, if you want to maybe use the word goals, are little goals, are things that happen in your life. They change with your circumstances. They change with your seasons. And for me, understanding that was really, really critical, because when you know that there's a difference between your calling and your assignments, and that your calling never changes, but your assignment changes season to season, there's a freedom that comes with that, because it gives you the flexibility to just go out there and do things, and you don't feel like you're missing out. If in this season you are called to motherhood, or you're called to employment, or you're called to this, is an assignment, is a season, it will change, but it doesn't mean that you are still not going to fulfill your calling, which comes out of the purpose that God has created you.
Well, thank you so much. We're still going to be getting more from Amanda and also Brenda. Really, really powerful truths there. I hope, ladies, you are noting things down, you're writing things down. Obviously, you might not be able to capture everything, but note down anything that resonated with you, that you heard, and you'll be like, what was that? Just write it down. That's for you. That's a word coming for you. Okay, cool. So thank you so much. Now let me go on to, now let's go to the practical steps now to be taken. Brenda, I know that you've mentioned a bit of that in your testimony. If you can just share with us again and shed more light on practical steps that can be taken to discover one's purpose in life. Practical steps.
Okay, so the practical steps that you can take, in order to find your purpose, was that right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, I think I think everybody's different. We're all unique. God has made us all unique. And I don't think that there's a specific thing that each person does and you're going to find your life purpose. Because we're all so unique, because God shows us all in our unique ways, all individual, that there may be one way for one person and something else completely different for somebody else. And only God knows that. God knows how he can take us from what we're doing and how to strategize our purpose, or how to know what our purpose is. And as Amanda said, we all have a purpose. We're not here by accident. We all have a purpose, but it doesn't mean to say that we all know our purpose. And if we don't know our purpose, then it doesn't mean to say that we're wrong because we don't know our purpose. It means that, okay, we may have different things that we need to do before we find that purpose or that calling. But what I would say, I would absolutely encourage everybody, and believers, non-believers, I would encourage you to ask. Don't just expect that you need to know it, because you'll not know it for yourself. But I know that for me, it was actually, okay, let's sit down and ask, what is my purpose? What am I here for, God? And then sit and listen, because some people, and I know that people say to me, Brenda, but I don't hear God. God doesn't speak to me. And what I would say in answer to that and reply to that is that God wants to speak to every single one of us. He's not a respecter of persons. He does want us to, he wants to have communication with us way more than we do with him. So if we ask in prayer and we ask God, and then wait, we may not hear it in the time frame that we want to hear it, but he will answer. And that's what I'll say. So if anybody is on here not knowing what their purpose is and want to know what their purpose is and how do they do that, then spend some time and ask God. And even if you don't know God, or you don't feel that God is here with you, ask him to be here with you, and watch what happens and sit and listen. That was how I started.
Yeah.
And it was later in life that I started. So we're all different.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brenda. And to even learn that I think in your testimony earlier, you were saying that you gave birth to your daughter 46, and you discovered your purpose at 50. Mm-hmm. So it means that it's never too late for anyone. It's never too late. No. So far you are prepared in your heart and willing to want to really discover your purpose. As she has said, the person that you go to first is the one who created you, and that is God. And I like what particularly said, that he really wants to speak to every one of us. Mm-hmm. He's eager, he's keen to want to speak, but he's waiting for us to ask him. He's waiting for us to talk to him and ask him, why have you created me? What's the purpose of my creation? Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for that. And that would lead us to the next question then, that having discovered your purpose, it's not just enough to discover this purpose. We've got to now pursue the purpose, isn't it? Which is what the topic of this episode is, in pursuit of purpose. So I want to ask Amanda, what practical steps can one take to pursue your purpose after you've discovered it?
Okay, so there are a few things that we can do. Identifying your gifts, your talents, and your skills. What are the things you're good at? More often, our purpose is tied to the gifts that God has already given us, because He's not a God of disorder. When He creates us, He gives us the things that we need. So in order to effectively pursue our purpose, we need to be able to identify those things first, so that we have some clarity on what they are and how we can use them appropriately. Then we can start to think about, what are the things that bother you? Again, maybe this falls under the guise of how to discover your purpose. What are the things that bother you? Pay attention to it. Is it child poverty? Is it world hunger? What makes you upset when you see or hear it? Make note of it, because that would form part of the things that could form part of the things that you're called to do. Understand yourself. What are your qualities? What do you enjoy? What comes easy to you? And another big one is understanding your pain, because the experiences you've had in life, when people say turn your pain into purpose, is actually true. Enemy would usually target you in areas that you were created to overcome. So sometimes our life's purpose will come out of our greatest pain, as has been my story and has been the story of Brenda as well. But we now have a responsibility to take those gifts and those abilities and turn them, gifts and talents, and turn them into an ability, something that we can use for our purpose by training, education. So for example, maybe you've got a desire, you've got a passion for medicine, you want to save lives, but you still have to go to medical school. You still have to get that qualification that you need in order for you to be effective in what God has called you to do. So in the pursuit of purpose, we need to take whatever step is required to turn our gifts into an ability. The other thing that we need to do as well is to learn from others, and I say not copy. There's nothing that we're going to do that is going to be unique. There's no unique purpose, but they're unique people, unique interpretation of those purpose. So look at people that have done what it is that you're trying to do, and learn from them, see what they've done, learn how they've done it. Don't be afraid to even, go as far as getting a coach or a mentor if you need to, but be willing to invest. I'm a lifelong learner. Nobody can know everything. We have to just have that attitude of learning, because it's one of the ways that would really help us in pursuing our purpose. Be willing to invest in your personal development. It doesn't always come cheap. Just because God has called you to do something doesn't mean that it's going to come without pain, it's not going to come without cost. But the faith that we have is that He will provide everything that we need. So if you need to go and pay for an education, you need to go to pay for counseling, or you need to go to pay for whatever it is, just be willing to invest in it. I still had to go and do, even though I've been writing from my childhood, I still had to do some creative writing courses so that it would empower me to be a better author. It will empower me to be a better writer. I've done a lot of speaking courses so that I can learn how to use that gift effectively, how to engage with the crowd, how to communicate effectively with the crowd. So you need to be willing to make that investment and apply yourself to what you have learned. There's no point learning and not using what you have learned. And most importantly, I think, there are two things. One, don't compare. Comparison will steal from you. When you're looking at other people and you're saying, oh, but that person is doing it better, that person is doing it this way, you're not going to be focused on yourself and your own development and your own journey. We all have an individual race to run your race, and recognize